All right, so just a quick introduction from myself, Nate Burgess, Director of Client Success here at HHA Exchange. I'm working with all 7 of the LMEs in the state with rolling out the HHA Exchange EVV solution for them and their providers. Our focus today is going to be on the workflow for those of you that are using the HHA platform. So my understanding is both of you, so Alpha, Matchbox, and multi-therapeutic, you're all using HHA Exchange. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And has everyone sat through training or portions of it and at least familiar with the
Yes.
platform and how to, okay, perfect.
Yes.
So as we're going through this, feel free to ask questions. I will keep it pretty high level, but we're walking through the happy path for getting visits in the platform and being able to build something. But feel free to ask questions as we move through it. So the happy path for EVV, or how we're going to work through this is, this reflects the life cycle of a visit, right? Everything within the HHA Exchange platform starts with the connection of your members and auths through what we call a placement coming from the LMEs. So all 7 of the LMEs are sending us member and auth data, and we're making a placement or connection within your provider portal so that you're able to view your members, view the authorization for what services should be provided, and you will use that data or that information to then schedule, confirm your visits, and then build those EVV compliant visits to the LME. Now, since you're using HHA Exchange, right, one of the benefits of all 7 LMEs offering the same solution is that it's one portal, one application to manage all your visits for those members across the LMEs, and then really one tool for being compliant and ultimately billing through the platform. It should make it, should simplify the process for managing these EVV mandated services. So we're going to start with this life cycle. I'm going to pull up the member, show you what it looks like, some of the key components you need to take care of prior to servicing the member. We'll walk through scheduling at a high level, manually confirming a visit, and then billing for that. I'm going to touch on manually confirming visits because that's going to be the quickest way for you to get a compliant visit into the platform, right? For you to confirm something electronically, the assumption is that your caregivers understand the EVV solution, they have the mobile app downloaded, or they know how to clock in and out through the 800 number that's been assigned to your provider agency. And you would have to schedule a visit for the next day or an upcoming date in the future that they would then need to confirm electronically. But what we'd like to do, if you have visits that have already occurred, maybe you have one that happened this week that you haven't billed for, that's what you can use for testing this process, entering it in manually, adding the schedule, the visit, and then billing for that visit. So I'm going to switch to the portal. So I am in a demo environment. I'm not tied to any of the 7 LMEs, but what I'm seeing here should look really similar to your provider portal view. We are going to start with the member, right? And everything that I'm walking through is just under the assumption that you've sat through training and you understand at least navigation at a high level. So instead of searching for a member, the one I want to use is Mark Cotter. So I'm going to click on him here on the home screen. And now we're pulled into the general page for this member. We have the demographics, so the information that's driven by each of the LMEs is here at the top. We have the placement that tells when the connection was happened or when the connection occurred, and then any notes that may be tied to that. You do not have the communication module isn't active for you with the payers or the LMEs in the state, but you will get system notifications, right? So when there's an authorization edit or a new auth or a new placement, those will come over as notes and be tied to the member's profile. So when you log in, you're navigating to a member, someone that you want to use for the test, or let's say even in, we've moved past this, you're now managing EVV full scale. You want to make sure for your members that you have the appropriate address on file. Right, so what's being populated in the system is tied to Medicaid eligibility enrollment. So what was used by the member, what's been updated most recently by the member with the state of North Carolina, right? That flows to the LMEs and then to HHA. This is not always the address where the members receive. You as the provider, you'll know that best. So we encourage you to review this information and add the appropriate service locations here within the profile. You can do that by, if you go to the profile of the member, scroll to the bottom, there's an edit button. Once you click edit, you'll see that you now have text boxes open where you can add in or edit what's here. So I want you to add an address versus editing. And the reason we're adding, so let's say if you try to edit the primary address sent to you by the payer, when they send new eligibility, it's going to be overwritten. That is the payer managed address. So if there's additional service addresses, you would add it. A new row pops up for you to manage that information, and then you would just plug in the address. Right? Note that if you type in the zip code, city, state, county is filled in for you. Now, when you're adding in a service address, it's important that you select the address type, right? So at a minimum, you need to identify this as GPS. By doing this, when your caregivers start using the mobile app and clocking in and out electronically, this will ensure that the service address is on file for the provider, or sorry, for the caregiver when they clock in and out, to compare where they're at to the service address within the member's profile. If GPS is not checked, we will not compare to this, this address. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. So once you have the service address, the next thing that you can do is navigate to the member's calendar and schedule and confirm for those visits. I've already built schedules out for this member. I built a reoccurring schedule through what we call Master Week. Right, so a Master Week, if you know you have an authorization, this one's from November to May. If you know that, hey, for the next month, 2 months, or whatever the time period is, this member is going to consistently receive services every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or every Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 11. You can build out that reoccurring schedule. You can do that by adding in a Master Week. All that's covered in the training. I'm not going to go in detail here, but it's in the training. It's also in the support center if you get stuck. So if you want to go ahead and add that reoccurring schedule, you can. Now this is going to help you manage EVV compliance. And the reason I say that, if we go back to the calendar, I now have a record account of where my caregiver should be for which member at what time. There's alerts within the system and reporting built in within the call dashboard, the pre-billing modules, to ensure that if a visit was supposed to occur, do you have the required Cures Act elements so that you can successfully bill for that EVV compliant visit, right? That's going to be key. Let's say moving forward, initially you roll this out, you tell your caregivers you need to clock in and out electronically. If they forget to do that or they're struggling, if you have the schedule on your calendar, you're going to get a reminder as well as a item within the pre-bill module that tells you, hey, there's no EVV associated with this record. Did the visit actually occur? So just making sure that you're able to capture all the EVV elements and bill for each of your visits in a compliant manner. Questions on Master Week or importance of a schedule?
No question.
Okay. So if the goal is just to be able to add a visit, let's say it's just a single visit that occurred last week that you haven't billed for, let's say on the 22nd, right? You can schedule, confirm all in, one attempt. So what we want to do is pick the day, and we're going to choose new non-skilled visit. All personal care services, so those currently under the EVV mandate, are considered non-skilled. What we classify as skilled in the HHA would be clinical, let's say like an RN or LPN, something like that, providing services. So I clicked add a new non-skilled visit. I'm now brought into the visit screen. Okay, from here, I'm going to add the schedule, and then I'm also going to confirm the visit. So if we add the scheduled time, this is in military time. So 0900 to, let's say 11 a.m. Wow, I can't type. 11 a.m. There we go. We need to add the caregiver. So if you have not entered your caregivers into the HHA exchange system, you need to do that before you move to this step. Hopefully you've all started to add your caregivers to the system. If not, I'd encourage you to start working on that now. If you have a lot of caregivers, say 40 or 50 or whatever the number in your head is, a lot that you don't want to manually data enter, there's a bulk import process out on the HHA Exchange LME provider resource page. And we can put that in the chat if you want it. But assuming you've entered in your caregivers, you would need to add that caregiver here, right? That's one of the Cures Act elements, right? Where you have when the visit occurred, who's providing the service, to who it's being provided to, and the type of service, right? So we need to enter in who the caregiver is to be able to successfully bill for this. I don't know my caregiver code off the top of my head, so I'm going to search for all caregivers. Right? If I click search, this will pull up everyone that I've entered into my system. I'm going to select the caregiver that's supposed to be providing services to this member, and the code is populated. The next step is identifying the type of service being provided, right? The actual service code. Here I'm going to select T1019. Ideally, this will line up with the authorization you have on file. I know the auth for this member in this profile is T1019. So you would select the service code that applies. If this happens to be an Appendix K service where there is no authorization, or let's say your authorization no longer has any units available, so you need to bill with the appropriate modifier, make sure in the dropdown that you select the right service code modifier combination based on what's being provided and whether or not it's Appendix K. Okay, questions on that? All right, so I've selected the appropriate service code. I have my caregiver. I'm going to save. Information has been saved. So now my calendar, you can see behind it, it's actually added the entry in, but we're going to go ahead and confirm the visit. So now that I've added the schedule, I'm going to go to the visit tab, and I'm going to confirm that this visit occurred. So this is manual visit entry. You're going to likely encounter this moving forward. You're never going to be 100% compliant with true electronic verification. There's going to be times when technology fails. There's going to be times when the member says, hey, you can't use my phone. I'm talking to a friend right now. So your caregiver can't clock in and out. You still need the ability to confirm something manually. And so you'll log into the platform to do that. So I'm going to confirm that the visit happened from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It was perfectly in line with my schedule. Whenever you're confirming it manually, you need to identify why you're confirming this visit manually. So I'm going to say the member wouldn't let me use the phone, and I'm the admin, or I'm the billing rep at my agency. I'm going to say, hey, I got a timesheet. I know they were there. Or maybe I called and spoke to the member and confirmed that way. This is required in order to save a manual confirmation. And this is more for oversight and insight to Alliance. Right? Their goal is to drive their providers, their network, to true electronic visit verification. If you're unable to confirm something electronically, they need to know why, right? As we collect this data and over time, maybe there's a member caregiver combination that is consistently manually confirmed. And the reason is that the caregiver can't use the phone in the member's home. Well, the next step would be, hey, caregiver, is there another mechanism for you to confirm a visit electronically? Do you have a smartphone? Can you download the mobile app? If you don't, okay, let's look at what other options there are. Or maybe it's as simple as educating the member, hey, member, EVV is real. It's really minimal impact to you, but we do need the caregiver to be able to use the phone in your home, right? It's giving us the necessary detail to ensure that we're moving more and more of these transactions to true electronic visit verification. So I've added the reason, the action taken, and I'm clicking save. This information has been saved. I can now close this out. And now here on the 22nd, I have a schedule. I have a confirmed visit. I know who my caregiver is, and I have the duration of the visit. Now that I've confirmed a visit, the next step would be to bill for this visit. Any questions on scheduling or confirming visits before I jump to the next item? All right. So within your training, right, the next thing after scheduling and confirming would be the pre-billing module, or managing the call dashboard. Since this wasn't electronically verified, I see the visits green. I don't expect it to be hung up in pre-billing. I'm just going to jump straight to billing. But I'll show you for pre-billing. Pre-billing will show you any visit that's been confirmed or any visit that has a schedule and tell you, hey, here's the component that's missing for you to be able to successfully bill for this visit through the HHA platform. So part of your weekly billing process, or maybe you do things every other day or even every day, is to go in and work through the pre-billing modules to see, okay, what visits do I have that are missing data in order to successfully bill for those? And you can work those directly here from this pre-billing module. All right, we're going to go in and now bill for visits. Okay, so we're going to do new invoice batch. We're going to find the contract. Here in your drop down, you would have each of the LMEs that you're contracted with. I'm going to choose MCO Payer Demo because that's what we're working with today, and I will click search. Note that I'm not populating anything else. You don't have to put a date span. I would encourage you to search open-ended. That way, if let's say someone that's working pre-billing module is someone different than what's doing the actual billing, you want to be able to pull in any visit that's available. So we completed our search. Here's all the visits that are valid that can be billed. So as I look through here, I'm going to select what I want to bill for. From your side, I would say let's keep the first billing submission relatively small, a visit or two. You would select the visits that you want to bill by just clicking the box and then invoice batch. Hit OK. It will tell you that the batch is being generated. And that's it. That's all you have to do to bill. As long as you're scheduling appropriately, you're confirming the visit, and you're working the pre-billing module, invoicing for your visits, it's just a few clicks. Now, what's going to happen after you selected those to invoice, you can monitor those through the process monitor. It'll give you a status of, hey, you created this invoice. Where's it at in the process? Have we actually batched it for billing? In my demo provider, it's not going to show that because it's not tied to those production jobs, but just know that you can watch the status of a batch here in the process monitor. Will you batch that for billing? What happens is overnight, we have automated jobs that will grab those invoices or those batches and create an 837. Around 3 or 4 a.m., that 837 is available for us to submit to the appropriate LME. So we'll submit that to Alliance for them to adjudicate. And that's it. That's the billing process. If there's any issues with the 837, so let's say a 999 response comes back or a 277 response comes back saying that the 837 was rejected, our RCO team here at HHA Exchange will manage those rejections, correct them, and then resubmit them. You do not have to manage that as a provider. We will take care of that for you. What you will need to monitor is the actual payment or remittance. So looking at the 835, based on what I batched for billing, what was the outcome? Was it paid? Was it denied? If it was denied, what were the reasons? Is it something to do with the data that was submitted? Maybe something needs to be corrected and resubmitted. So your 835 will flow through your normal process. So, just be on the lookout for that once we submit your 837 over to Alliance. And that is the process at a high level to be able to test successfully within your provider portal. Any questions on that workflow? Okay.
Well, this is Joey Dorset again, I appreciate everyone's attendance. Do you guys feel like this is something that you guys could accomplish where we could get a claim or two where we could begin to process it and make sure that we're validating all the processes both from your side as well as HHA and the Alliance side to try to get that moving forward?
When would you like to have some in?
We will take it as soon as you guys can get it in. Just what I will caution you is the process right now is a manual process on our side. and we'll have to kind of hand process the files and move them through. So once you do it, it may take a day or two to get that process moved through and get the response files and so forth back. Once we get the testing done and get a few providers under our belt, we'll automate those processes and let them run automatically. But right now we want to do it kind of a manual thing. So we're open to whenever you guys are available to do it. You could do it today, you could do it next week, you could do it, whenever you think you have time to work through the process and make sure that you're set up and able to do that.
Okay.
So with that in mind, what kind of time frame could you maybe just anticipate? Just next few weeks, next kind of, what are you thinking? Was that Tony talking?
Yes, I can probably, oh, I'm sorry.
Two Tonys,
Oh,
we have two Tonys.
So I believe I can probably have something submitted by Tuesday.
Okay.
Mhm.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
So Ty, as far as alpha management, do you think we can send anything next week? Or
That wasn't a part of the plan, but we can look at it. That's why I was asking when they would like them to see something. It would probably be the next week because of some of the things we have scheduled the first week of the month.
yeah.
But it would I would say, we would shoot for something that next week.
That would be fun. That'd be awesome.
So the week of,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. We would appreciate that. That'd be awesome.
Joey, I had a question around next Tuesday. Is that something that you'd be able to process with the new Alpha MCS update going in?
Yeah, well, again,
If we're looking
I tried to qualify that. Yeah, we'll be working through the process. It may take us a couple of days to get your response file back, but we could work, because I think first of all, the 837 will run overnight. So if you process it Tuesday, we won't get it till Wednesday. It may be the beginning of the following week before we actually get you the 835s and everything back, but we'll work our way through that with you guys and keep the communication open to make sure that you know exactly where things are. Once we get past that initial testing, like I said, if you want to submit more claims, you can do a lot of things once we get past that initial testing phase.
Great. So it sounds like we have one provider testing potentially on Tuesday. We have a provider testing the following week.
I'm sorry, which provider was it
sounds
that
good.
said Tuesday? Just so I could make note.
That's Tony Jones, Multi-Therapeutic Services.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Mhm.
That would be
Excellent.
excellent.
Okay,
That would be
yeah,
amazing if you guys could see, through that to try to get a claim or two processed.
Yes.
all right. So as a follow-up, Joey, what I'm going to do is I will send out your email along with Nathan's to everybody that attended today, also with the PowerPoint that was shared today. That will be my follow-up here in Provider Networks, and I'll make sure that everybody receives that information so that when you are ready to test, you can email Nathan and Joey directly. Let them know that a test claim will be coming through and they will be on the lookout on their end. So that way we kind of close the loop. Joey, is there anything else that you need from us right now or from the providers?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. We really appreciate you guys being willing to engage and do this testing. We think it's going to be best for you as well as for us, because again, as we try to onboard 85 providers, if we can get a few done early, the sooner we can, the better off we're going to all be. And we'll be here to support you guys through that process, as will HHA and their team. So we appreciate everything. We really do.
Excellent. Nathan, anything else on your end? We're about to wrap up here. We're hitting the 1 o'clock time spot. And anything else, Nathan, from your end?
No, nothing from my side.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Nathan, today, being able to join us, and for the providers. And Joey, also just wanted to thank everybody for coming to the table today, and have a wonderful Friday. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank